The one and only sexy mama, LaDonna Raeh.
LaDonna Raeh Show. That's right. That's right. You are tuned into the one and only LaDonna Raeh Show. I'm your host, LaDonna Raeh. Did I have to say that? I don't think I had to say that, but I just wanted to remind you because today we've got a special guest. Now, here's the thing. I know we've all been paying attention to what's going on in politics. Okay, we know who's in office, but that also means we know who's in charge. Now, it's very evident that there are some things that are getting done that we do agree with and mostly we don't agree with. But do you disagree for the sake of disagreeing? Do you disagree because of who's in office? Like, it's kind of like it's not what is said, it's who said it. Okay. But if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's simply wrong. Today's special guest has nothing to do with what I said, but there is something to do with some of the executive orders that have been going out. Canada's pissed, okay? And, there's a such thing as black tax, black tariffs. There's all kinds of business relationships that we need to discuss. So today, we are keeping it real, as we do always, relevant, as we do always, and always ready to elevate the conversation. We're diving into the conversation that impacts so many of us in business, but often goes unspoken. We're talking about the black tax, the invisible tariffs of black entrepreneurs face, and the critical importance of building strong strategic business relationships. Joining us is a leader who's not only raising awareness, but offering solutions. I love solutions because everybody got problems. He's the principal of Big Law Business Development, a firm that is dedicated to helping businesses grow, scale, and succeed in competitive markets. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our guest for today, Mr. Brian Brown.
Thank you, LaDonna, for that great introduction. And yeah, it's a LaDonna Raeh show. You need to keep reminding people of that. So
Yeah.
first things first, get the important stuff away.
Wait. The first things
Yes, ma'am.
first is your head is cut off. I
Oh,
need
my
you to.
head is cut
Yeah,
off,
do you
really?
see that?
I mean, yeah,
There we go.
it's the guillotine effect. I mean, I have a really large water head, LaDonna. I mean, it's kind of hard to fit all that cranium into one place.
I'm telling you.
But all right,
But
so
go
back to
go
it. But
ahead.
yes, it is the
Yes.
LaDonna Raeh show, and I think it bears repeating. It's one of the outstanding shows. I'm a regular, frequent listener, and definitely honored as a guest. And so we'll get the important things out of the way. LaDonna, God bless you and God bless your family. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That means a lot. But what is it? Tell us a little bit about your business because that's so important.
Well, thanks, LaDonna. So imagine you and your listeners were lawyers in big law firms.
Mm-hmm.
And so you first ended up there. You may be first generation, and for a lot of people of color, we're first generation lawyers. And so when you got there, they said, look, just be a good lawyer, LaDonna. Don't worry about clients. Don't worry about that. We'll teach you the law. We'll teach you all that good stuff. And 5 or 6 years go past. And one day someone comes in and says, hey, LaDonna, you need clients. Wait a minute, what? No, you said all I had to do was be a good lawyer. I said, yeah. And good lawyers have clients. And so you may ask your colleague and say, well, hey, how do you get clients? He says, well, relationships. Like my Uncle Warren gives me legal work. He gives me his lawsuits and everything to work on. I said, your Uncle Warren said, my Uncle Warren Buffett. Well, that's cool. Well, my Uncle Warren works at the Lucky Strike on East Illinois, okay? I mean, he might give you the hookup on some shoe rentals, but he probably can't afford $800 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So what my company does is when you have that fecal moment in your career, we come in and we go out and get you business because you didn't have to go to law school to be a salesperson. And there's some restrictions on you as an attorney on how to do it. And so oftentimes, because in the legal world, it's all about what you did in the past, attorneys, particularly attorneys of color, go to the same groups, right? Or the example I like to give is like being a single person and you went to a cemetery to meet other single people,
Oh, wow.
it's
I,
probably a good idea. You may not like the result.
I think
So,
that's
but
off-putting. Yeah.
that's true, but it's true. Or the better example I like to give is you go to the National Ice Cream Manufacturers Associations, you sit on panel discussions and talk about how you make chocolate and vanilla and strawberry ice cream, and you put the chocolate in first, the strawberry to vanilla, and you have a whole panel discussion. But across the street is the American Association of Ice Cream Buyers, right? And Kroger's there, and Vons is there, and Menards is there, and Safeway, and you can go on, and Walmart. So I say to lawyers, particularly lawyers of color, let's go to the places where people can buy your services, and that's really what my company does. And we just do it in one of the ways we do it is video and really innovative approaches, which is absolutely needed in today's environment, right? Everything evolves, and the way you get clients and the way you get business should evolve as well.
Yeah. I often say that when you video speaks volumes, and
Absolutely.
it's a 4D. I was presented to how much more impactful it is to have video when I was pregnant with my second child.
Hmm.
And they gave me a 3D, no, there was a 2D option and a 4D option, and that 4D option was video, where I could actually see him move around. So the same thing goes on social media, and when people look in their inboxes and go to social media and they see a video option, it gives them a more personal touch. Do you think that that gets in the way of being? Do you think it's too impersonal to rely on a video versus being in person and telling them what kind of law firm you are and going out knocking on doors?
So no, I think it's a supplement, right? It's not a replacement. And so one of the great things that video does, and particularly a plug for my company, and our title is proactive business development. So again, LaDonna, I'll use as an example. You have an unbelievably great marketing business. A lot of companies can benefit from who you are and what you do. Part of my company is we're now expanding internationally. If you were a guest, when you become a guest on my show, right? So we'll turn the tables a little bit. When you become a guest on my show, we talk about the great things that you do. Then I take that video and I send it to, um, I send it to UN Global Compact, which the
Mm.
number one job is to be able to promote businesses like yours on the continent of Africa and around the world. The folks I particularly really work with Africa, taking that video and sending it to the African Business Leader Summit, where there's going to be over 3,000 CEOs
Mm-hmm.
that are managing businesses that do over $750 million a year. Video will be very powerful. You can go to the conference in Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. I'll be going, but if you can't go for whatever reason, having that video and me sharing it, because as you know, people forget 98% of what they heard after the first hour.
Mm.
It's just true, right? Or that person that really absolutely wanted to hear what you had to say on that panel just couldn't make it. So
Right.
how are you going to reach that person? And so again, using you as an example, for the people that I know that need to hear what you have to say, you need to say it to me once so I can send it out 10,000 times.
Makes
And the
sense.
other thing too is because we have, as you say in the intro, we keep it real. If someone has a issue with your gender, your ethnicity, they can qualify themselves out, right? It's abundantly apparent to most people you're African American, right? It's probably abundantly apparent to most people seeing me I'm African American. And so video is a great way to qualify people out, but it's also a great way to qualify people in. And you can't beat the economics on video.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
I
preaching
just
to
heard.
choir to deacons and a visiting pastor. You know what I'm talking about. So
Absolutely, especially since you sent me a video. I probably should play it here, where there was a medical professional that was talking about the less desirable medical health professionals that don't get in. And when
hmm
I heard that, it was very shocking to me that they have even the term in 2025, less desirable,
right,
more desirable,
right.
and it's like more desirable and less desirable to who? So that brings me to our topic for today, as we're talking about the black tax and the black tariffs. What exactly is the black tax in business?
So what I think the black tax is when when a black professional, before they can have a conversation with someone, has to sit down and give their credentials. Okay, hey, I'm a medical doctor. I graduated number one from my class in Harvard. I graduated number one in my class from Northwestern. I'm a resident. I was a resident of Northwestern Medical School. I was number one in my class. That sort of thing. My
Mhm.
SAT scores were up at 1800. I was the first in my kindergarten class to color inside the lines.
You said
Right?
kindergarten. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, I went there. I'm from Baltimore. I might say kindergarten, right? So, so, um, so it's that sort of thing where we almost always have to be, we have to give our resumes,
Mm.
or there is no opportunity for failure for us. We can't be less than, we can't be mediocre, right? You have to be Simone Biles, but if you're Simone Biles, you can't have a bad day. You got to be
Mm.
Tiger Woods,
Mhm.
right? And hey, I missed the putt. Wait a minute, you're not supposed to miss. You have to be
Mhm.
President Obama. You have to be Bayard Rustin. You have to. We can go on a list of African Americans. You have to be a LaDonna Raeh. You can't be less than, right? And so that's really what the black tax is. And so often in the world of business, and in my business too, I don't get the opportunity to fail, right? And
Mhm.
when you're a person of color, when you're black, it's never about potential. It's always about performance. And even when it's about performance, it's still not enough.
Mhm.
Even when you give folks 10 references of what a great job you've done for them, it's still not enough. Or your price always has to be lower,
Mm.
right? Your price always has to be lower,
Is that
even
because
though.
we've
So,
set that standard low? Sometimes as black business owners, we feel the need to undercut because we're black, or do we feel the need to undercut to gain business? I mean, or are they one and the same?
so I often feel as though we feel I think one sort of feeds into the other,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes when you're starting a business, right, you have to sell on price, that sort of thing. So you have to have a little bit of a commodity sale. But as you go along, like in your business, as I think a very wise woman, I can't remember her name, LaDonna Raeh. I mean, you'd have to introduce me to the lady one time, but as she liked to say, yesterday price isn't today's price.
Mm-hmm.
And so what often happens is, as people of color, as black business owners, where we sometimes fall down is we don't spend the time helping people understand the return on investment,
Mm.
right?
But do we feel like it's not our responsibility, or do we not take that as a learning opportunity, or should I say a teachable moment? Because a lot of times when you're approaching a new client or a new business or a new to you, okay, I'm not saying
Sure,
they're
sure,
they're new business, but
right.
new to you business. Do you
Hmm.
feel that they should have some level of understanding the return on investment based on what you're offering, or do you feel that you might step on some toes trying to educate them? Because I there's a balance. I've had
Hmm.
some I start a conversation with a new prospect,
Sure.
and I ask for a permission level. And I say,
Hmm.
on a permission level 1 to 10, 1 meaning I got to coddle you, 10 meaning I can tell you like it is.
Right,
I can't work with anyone lower than an 8, to be honest
right.
with you, because
Sure,
at that point it's like I'm just being agreeable.
well, sure.
But it kind of goes back to Hancock, the movie, when the police were there and they told Hancock, tell them they're doing a great job. And he said, well, if they were doing a great job, why am I here?
That's
So
right.
if everything was going peachy, Dory, and I can agree with it, then they wouldn't need my services. So I need to work with a permission 8 or up, and that means that I can tell you how it really is. So
Sure.
yeah, back to my question, do you feel like it's a missed opportunity to make it a teachable moment, or do business owners feel like, or consultants feel like it's kind of stepping on toes to even take that approach?
Well, I'd like to say this, and that's a great point, LaDonna. And I like the permission level. I actually was taking notes. Every time I talk to you, usually we're talking by phone. I'm not on screen. I'm
Yeah.
taking notes. I mean, I feel as though I'm getting an MBA class. Oh shoot, I need to keep my mouth. You'll send me a bill for my tuition, but it's like I'm taking an MBA course with you.
Yeah.
So, but I would say this, right? Just because you go to the airport every day to either pick somebody up or that you're taking a flight out of Midway or O'Hare doesn't necessarily make you a pilot,
Mm.
right? So everybody's a customer for what they don't do.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're talking to a business person, having that return on investment conversation is saying, look, I'm LaDonna Raeh. I charge, $45,000 for these services. But the $45,000 that you pay me can net you 450,000 or $4.5 million, right? I have an adage: you pay me a little, I make you a lot. You pay me nothing, I make you twice as much. Now I'm old, I can do math in my head, so sometimes I'll have people pull out their calculator and do two times zero,
Oh
right?
no.
That sort of thing, so they can see it's still zero. So, but to me, having that ROI conversation I think, is important because
Mm-hmm.
again, I know you and I understand what you do. So the return on investment that you garner for your clients is key. If you start with a return on investment conversation, you don't have to lower your price.
Yeah, that's true. I do find that to be true because you have to build the value. Now, how does the black tariff show up in pricing or access to capital or even client expectations?
So where the black tax shows up, I kind of intimated it before, is that we can't be less than, right? So we have to be exemplary, we have to be extraordinary.
No, but
There's
this is
no
the black
opportunity for
tariff.
failure.
Are you talking
Right. No,
about the
I'm talking
tax or the
about the
tariff?
tax. I'm going to talk about the tax. I'll get to the tariff in a second.
Gotcha.
All
Okay.
right. So the black tax is immediately LaDonna Raeh has to be a superstar, right? And when I call her, I should be able to call her at 2 o'clock in the morning and talk to her about what's ever going on. Well,
Mm.
no, no, you can't.
Mm-mm.
Even though you are their provider, they're still your client, and you still have that level of business relationship. Or, well, gee, I paid you this money, and I haven't seen a return on my investment yet. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we just started yesterday afternoon. Yeah, I know, right? And so, or, oh well, I need more references. I need to see more stuff, right? That's the black tax, and you often think to yourself, would someone of a different ethnicity be asked those same questions?
No.
Oh, he's a good guy.
Mm.
A lot of times that's sufficient. He's a
Mm-hmm.
good gal. A lot of times that's sufficient, right? You see instances of people failing forward,
Mm-hmm.
right? You see people giving multiple chances that don't often look like us. And so that's really what the black tax is. It's that we cannot be less than in everything that we do. Everybody knows Jackie Robinson, but a lot of people don't know Larry Dolby. Larry
Mm-hmm.
Dolby was the first African American to play professional baseball in the American leagues. His career was not as illustrious
Mm-hmm.
as Jackie Robinson's, but there's no story about him, right? There's no movie about him,
Yeah, and we
right?
gravitate towards the endorsement because the moment someone asks you, "Well, let me see your portfolio," it's like, okay, now I gotta stop what I'm doing to put together a portfolio. And then in some cases, people feel like you should just have one. No, you shouldn't. I mean, if you're a photographer, yes.
Sure.
If you're offering video filming, I should say yes. But website, I mean, come on, man. It's like it's when you're coming to someone for a service and it's a boutique service, like
Hmm.
let's just get the work done.
Yeah.
Let's just have milestones and reports and look at the strategic plan, and does it make sense? Do you have the budget? Okay? Then we'll talk about the portfolio. I'm just
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and to your point, that's part of the black tax. So
Mhm.
what you've done in the past is not necessarily a precursor to what it'll do in the future. And plus, you offer a quality, curated service that um, that's unique and is different, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you were making suits or dresses for women, not all women are the same size. The fashion industry would make you believe that, but I don't need to tell you that. Same with me with suits, right? All
Yeah.
men's suits, there's a general size, but you're curating and you're tailoring your services to that particular business. And so
Mhm.
what you've done for someone else is sort of a guideline, but even though people offer the same service, the way they do it and the way they deliver it to the marketplace is unique. So to your point, where's that permission level? And let's talk about that ROI up front. Because what we're also kind of doing, LaDonna, is we're explaining how to overcome the black tax as we're talking about the black tax, right?
Yeah.
So we're because again in the introduction you talk about, hey, we know about the problem is let's talk about the solution.
Uh-huh.
And so that's
Absolutely.
part of that solution. But
Yep.
I do like permission level. I'm going to give you attribution for that, by the way, because I plan to use it
You only have
on
to do it 3 times, and then after that,
acknowledged.
it's yours.
Well, do I have what level of permission do I have to be able to use a permission level? So,
Right, right. Yeah. You have my permission
yes,
because
ma'am.
I think it should be utilized in most businesses. We're getting too comfortable and we're also not comfortable enough. So there's a balance and there's a dance depending on who you're talking to. I sold cars at the age of 20. Like I
Wow.
took 2 years off from going to college and sold cars at 20. And I was top on in my team. We had 3 teams because there were 3 women. And I was at the beginning. I mean, I should say I was at the top of my team. That's right. But it wasn't because I knew cars. It was because
Hmm.
I knew people and I
Sure.
got to know them and I took pictures of them when they bought a car. I took a Polaroid picture of them and I held it up proudly and hung it in my office. But it's very important to know who you're talking with. The way you speak to one person is not going to be the same with another. And we have to understand that. However, the services we offer, you definitely have to tailor it to what that particular business is in need of, and their ROI is going to be different from someone else's ROI. And businesses need to understand that when they come to you for help, it's not because they don't know what they're doing. It's because they're working. When you and I spoke, we talk about this. When they're working in their business, they're not working on their
On their
business.
business.
So when they come to you, you can help them work on their business. All you need is a set of strategic principles. And once you follow them, the return on investment is clear. That's what accounting is. If I
Amen.
do this, then I will get this.
That's right.
I don't, you
It's
don't need,
basic math.
right. It's basic math. And it's just a matter of getting it done. So, how can we push back on systems and mindsets that reinforce that these unspoken penalties?
Right. So we push back on mindset and systems that by constantly being who we are as a people, which is we're innovators. I've had a chance to listen to several of your podcasts, which again are just amazing.
Thank you.
And so, but a
I'm
resounding
still going to
theme.
charge you for that permission level, though.
I think you should, but I'll deny that later. But I think what you're saying is we're always the innovators and we're always the leaders. In a presentation I did where you and I first met, one of the things I talk about is BlackBerry, right? And the reason why most no one has a BlackBerry anymore. If you see somebody with one, is they chose to stagnate. They didn't choose to innovate. So innovation is a part of our DNA as people of color, and in particularly as African Americans. And so how we overcome the black tax, and that is again through innovation, is through pivoting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we went this way. They didn't like that. One or two things can happen. I don't necessarily believe a lot of folks get into, well, hey, just, you're spending too much time talking to that person. If they're having a conversation with you and it may seem negative at the time, but if they're having that conversation with you, it's because they still want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
They're still, even if they're saying no, as long as you're a part of the conversation, as business owners, we can overcome everything but silence, right? And even then, even there's a way around that. But so to overcome that black tax is to be able to be innovative, saying things like, I can appreciate where you're coming from, but understand I'm bringing another perspective to your table. When we only sit around and we only talk to people who think and act like us, we never learn. So in my law firm business, I encourage African American attorneys to go to the Hispanic Lawyer Association, to go to Asian Lawyer Association events, to go, if you're a male, go to the women events. Make sure that you go to Women Association events, you go to LGBTQ events, you go to Indigenous people events. Go to different events and also go to business events. Continuously go to places where you are one of the few, and when you're hanging out with other lawyers who don't look like you're going to learn a lot about what they face, which is probably very similar. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, when you go to those spaces and places where there are no lawyers in the room or there are no brilliant marketers in the room, that's a target rich environment, particularly for you, LaDonna. So, again, the way to overcome the black tax is get out of spaces and places where you're comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and get into those rooms and actually have a conversation with people. Look, there's folks that don't do business with me. One of the things I ask them is, I'm not here to convince you to come back and work with me. You already
Mm-hmm.
made a bad business decision.
Right, right.
But I want to know what it was that about my service that you didn't like. Just tell me the truth. Look, I'm not recording this. I just want to know. I want to get better. And so some folks will say, well, it was this and this. And I really appreciate that. So, well, they're going to try to convince me. Absolutely not. You were kind enough to do this for me. And inside of my brain is what I'm actually doing is now I get to go talk to your competitor
Mm-hmm.
because now I know what you object to is probably what the other person objects to. And a lot of times the people who said no to me help me to get yeses from other folks.
Mm-hmm.
So again, to overcome the black tax, take what is given to you. You're being dismissed. And again, part of that pivot is to use that for the next opportunity because there are a lot of everybody has competition. Our biggest competition is indifference, but everybody has competition. And so the key is to taking that information and using it to your advantage,
You
right?
know, I spoke a little bit about our current administration,
Sure.
and we all know that we've heard DEI more now than ever. Okay. And with DEI being repealed and actually also affirmative action 3 years ago
Sure.
during the last administration,
Right.
now everybody's up in arms and wanting to obviously protest and boycott. And some people don't even realize or understand what it actually means. But
Sure.
one of the things that it has really, I would say, assisted us in sitting on our wings because they're not clipped. Okay,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
we've been sitting on our wings because we almost look to fight over that little 4% that we were getting in the first damn place.
Mm-hmm.
However, if that is lifted, okay, there's no more 4%, maybe we can get 20%. Okay, that's just me being optimistic.
Mm.
Only because it will take us to do X in order to get more percentage of what is out there for contractors. I believe that that X value equals relationships. Okay. Have
Absolutely.
we been building relationships in the past or have we been riding on the color of our skin?
Right. So that's a really a great question, LaDonna. And again, I've been working with lawyers for 17 years as of February 2nd, right of this year. It's year 17. And so my definition of D&I and DEI has always been dollars and income, right? Dollars, earnings, and income, right? That's what DEI needs to be because, making people feel comfortable or uncomfortable about historical past issues, it's good to have that conversation, right? Let's not act like it didn't happen. I mean, imagine a loved one going to the emergency room. They were in a car accident. They had something really bad. And the emergency room physician be like, "Oh, I can't look at that." That sort of thing. It'll take care of itself. No, it's not going to take care of itself. You need to look at it. You need to address it.
Mm-hmm.
But we also need to look at preventative measures for the future, right? So from a DEI perspective, understanding or D&I, I like to use it, dollars and income, because ultimately the people who have the dollars and income get to make all the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing that in the current administration, right? There's a person who's made a lot of money, primarily from government contracts, and given opportunities to fail forward, but they got all the money, so they get to make a lot of the decisions. So in our communities, we need to understand that our dollars have all diverse dollars matter, and boycotting is the most effective form of protest because folks that have to answer to a board of directors of publicly traded companies have to say, okay, we offer product that someone can get someplace else. We've decided to take this stance. And now, if you're going to take that stand, if you're going to die on that hill, then you need to die on that hill. The smart people will come in and see that and seize that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So, what the perspective of one individual has to say about our culture and how we do business is they're free to their opinion. We don't have to live by that opinion. And so, again, like I said before, it's an opportunity to pivot and move into another direction and go back to talking about dollars, earnings, and income, dollar and income. That's the real DEI for me.
Yeah.
Always has been.
I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine a long, long time ago, and he said that why he had sat down and decided to do some herbs before they were legal, with a white guy.
Hmm.
And he said the white guy told him, he said, why is it that you all, when we get high or inebriated, we talk about how to make money. And
Hmm.
when you all get high and inebriated, you talk about how to spend it.
Hmm.
And that opened up my mind. Not that I wasn't aware of it, but I wasn't aware of it like that. Because we're talking about, like, I had to be in my 20s, okay?
Sure.
Early 20s. And it's so true because when we talk about dollars, and you said D&I, dollars and income,
Income. Yep.
I'm thinking about DNR, like do not resuscitate. Instead of it being do not resuscitate, it should be dollars and revenue, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah,
income
absolutely.
says I work for someone, revenue
A
says
good
I have
point.
a business. But
That's
watch
true.
this. If I'm talking about dollars in revenue or dollars in income, I need to talk about how to make those dollars and that income and that revenue duplicate itself, because
Sure.
money should be working for us. I don't think we talk about that. We think that once we've arrived,
Hmm.
that we have to show everyone else that how successful we are by buying name brand, what we deem name brand, okay? Because
That's right.
anything with a name on it is name brand.
That's true.
But there are name brands that are made by black people, that
Hmm.
we can highlight and support and lift up. But we don't do that enough. But we always say, oh, it's Gucci. And it's like, why don't we say Lucci? Where's Lucci or Lucius or
Hmm.
somebody else,
Hmm.
But again, that mindset has been, I believe, crippling our community and even our community once we've made it, because we feel that level of success needing to be um,
Validated.
exhibited for some reason. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
but I think if we turn the pages of that and say, okay, that's how we used to be. All right.
Hmm.
We used to be consumers. We used to put $1.8 trillion into.
Still do.
Oh, I know.
Hmm.
I'm just hoping we could turn the page. But I want to put $1.8 trillion. I want to take at least $1 trillion and put it into our black community and community of businesses.
Sure.
The only challenge is, like Maggie Anderson. She wrote a book called My Black Year. Okay. The hardest year for her and her family to do was to support black business only. Because you can tell me to boycott, but what am I boycotting to do otherwise?
Hmm.
Like the boycott in the 60s was like, okay, that we walked, we carpooled. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
But if I boycott Target and Walmart or whoever else, where else am I going?
Sure.
We have to have a plan. And that's where strategic relationships come in. I'm thinking about how many people I've talked to that couldn't start a grocery store in a food desert. We're talking about black people. They can't start a grocery store because they don't have the relationships
Hmm.
of the co-opters or of the vendors, of the producers.
Sure.
You have to build relationships. It's social media. Facebook is not building relationships. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Well, building relationships, right? I mean, I started my business with a lamp in my pocket, right, in 2008. And so I started it by actually just going to lawyer events and
Mm-hmm.
talking to lawyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Business lawyers,
You have to.
and beginning to speak their language and understand what they're saying. So if there is a desire to start a grocery store in a food desert community, then okay, so now it's time to join the National Grocery Store Association. And they've got a chapter in Chicago, and you go to their events, right? And if you can't afford to buy a ticket at the gala, then you volunteer. But you
Ah.
show up, right? My favorite four lines: you show up, you follow up, you keep it up, and you don't give up. And so that's one way, right, of overcoming a black tax. And the other way to overcome the black tax is, I understand this lady's book, My Black Year. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
read it, but I'll get it and take a look at it. But the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, what did you do to support that black business?
Mm-hmm.
And so if that black business was challenged, right? Here comes the black tax again
Mm-hmm.
and the black tariff. And so the black tariff is when we as black people, we come to, Brian and LaDonna and Brian's restaurant, and or LaDonna Lorenzo's restaurant, and the service isn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of us pulling the
Running
manager
to
aside,
Yelp and
or yeah, we're going to go to Yelp. So, don't go there; it's horrible, and all that is sort of stuff. We pride ourselves on putting folks down, but coming back and say, hey, you know what? This is what happened. What can I do to improve? Or
mm-hmm.
you have, LaDonna Lorenzo's restaurant, and so their social media presence isn't where it should be. Their website is tore up from the floor up. Their Yelp reviews are not that great. Instead of just laughing or just complaining, being a part of that solution. And I know
Right.
something we talked about. There's a each one teach one. I'm too old for that. That math's not mathing. I'm like each one reach 10 people. I know it doesn't rhyme. It's not much of an alliteration, but it's easy math, right?
Yeah. We'll
So
work on that.
that's
We'll
right, we'll
get it
work
to
on it. But
rhyme.
you're
Yeah.
you're you're the creative one on this call.
We'll get it to
but
rhyme.
but it's more to me along the lines of, okay, if there's a black business that's struggling, help that black business. Raise your hand.
Mm.
Right? If there's that black business, you want to open up the food desert. Well, I may not know much of grocery place, but I know how to raise money. I know how to do marketing. I know how to drive traffic. There's a lot of things collectively that we can do together. So that's part of each one. Each one, you reach 10 people, right? And again, and if you got to stretch the truth a little bit to endorse a black business, they say, well, the food was really, I went to the restaurant and went to LaDonna Lorenzo's, and the food was slow getting to my table. Well, it's because they do custom orders. They
Mm-hmm.
take time, so it's not
Mm-hmm.
fresh. It's
That's
it's not
right.
frozen. It's fresh.
That's
That
right.
sort of thing. There's always a way to
Yep.
be able to spin a story. And if we do see those negative Yelp reviews, back to each one to touch 10. Let's get 10 positive reviews.
Yeah.
And
To push
again,
those down. Yeah.
that's right. It's
Mm-hmm.
on the honor system. Okay. Now, I may have never been to your restaurant. I know that. You know
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
The other people looking at Yelp don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's no reason in the world. All of a sudden, now we want to be honest about
Right.
everything. Right.
Exactly.
That sort of
But
thing.
you
Now
but
we're
it's
now we're on
fun.
the internet. Now we want to be honest.
It's funny how when we see something good, we want to keep it close to the
Hmm.
vest. I'm not telling anybody where I get my hair done. I'm not telling anybody about this boutique I go to because I don't want them looking like me. It's so
Yeah.
it's so weird how we just don't share the information when it's great, and when it's not great, we can't wait to get on that bullhorn.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're a society built around that, but we don't have to necessarily be always a part of that. So the other way I think we overcome the black tax, and again the black tariff. So the black tariff is when we're already paying the black tax as black owners, and then
Mm-hmm.
we put each other down, and that's the tariff, right? It's the extra 25% that seem
Mm-hmm.
to be very popular um, right now.
Can't wait for you to fail. I
Right,
knew it.
exactly. I know. So we want to. That's right. And so not only can I wait for you, I can't wait for you to fail. I'm going to do my part.
Right.
And so, or I'm going to.
I
Right.
don't mean
Yeah.
to laugh because this is not funny.
I know that's not, is it? It's
Oh
sad,
my
isn't it?
goodness. It's sad, but it used to be true. That's I'm going to speak the narrative. It
Amen.
used to be true. Like
Hmm.
we didn't used to support each other even though we used to support each other before that.
Eh,
So starting today, shaming a struggling business is counterproductive.
amen.
It says a lot about who you are.
Correct.
Okay, so when you go around talking negatively about individuals to other people, it says that you're going to do the same thing to the person you're talking to. So don't do that when it comes to a business. A black business is already hanging on and you know it. It's like no matter what their attitude is, no matter what how long they've been there or have not been there, you already know that they've gone through the ringer.
Amen.
And not everybody handles that properly. So we need to offer constructive help. I remember doing that with a dear friend of mine. We became friends. I went to his steakhouse in Chicago, and the
It wasn't
service was
LaDonna Lorenzo's, was it?
no,
No, that the service would be exemplary. Please continue.
it would. And I'm hoping it would because maybe I didn't have the right staff. Maybe I didn't have anyway. So my point is, we went there once, it was horrible. We went there a second time just to negate the first time because maybe that was just a bad day and it was
Sure.
horrible. So I went on to Facebook in an inbox message and I sent a message and I still have it, I'm sure. And it says, "Hey, your steak location is so awesome. It's easy to get to because I wanted to get their attention."
Right.
And they responded. And then I said, "However," and I sent them the video that I took because I had my phone sitting there recording what we were going through. And it wasn't like, "Oh, look," it was to show the owner
Sure.
who was working on his team and
Right.
who was working against him on his team. And he saw it and he apologized profusely. I had to
Right.
let him know, but I let him know privately. I never
Absolutely.
went public with it, and I'm never going to go public with it.
Yeah. And that's to your point, LaDonna, about overcoming the black tariff, right? Is allow each other grace and allow each other opportunities to get better,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
again, we're a very forgiving society. You hear stories about people who have been incarcerated or had drug and alcohol or other addictions who've turned their lives around. And so if there's a black business that's struggling, I'm not saying the owners are have any of those maladies, but what I'm saying, treat them with the same degree of grace and kindness that you would treat somebody if they were at an addiction workshop or a part of an addiction group,
Mhm.
right? Give them that opportunity to get better. Give them an opportunity to improve. I have large hands, but one of the things I like to do is make sure I tell people if you fall down, look up. If fall down, fall on your back. Because if you look up, I'm gonna pull you up.
Mhm.
And also overcoming the black taxes is those of us, successful folks like yourself, right? Make sure there's a rope around our waist. So as we're
Mhm.
climbing that mountain,
We're
we're
bringing
pulling other
somebody up.
people up as well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
I
so
live for that.
you have younger children, you have young boys and stuff like that. And so, you are creating that example all the time that as you're making your ascent, they're starting to breathe in that rarefied air. And the beautiful part is when we all have ropes around our waist, pulling each other up, when we get to the mountaintop, we're not alone.
That's
Like,
true.
hey, Donna, isn't I told you this? We're like, Brian, this view is amazing. I told you how amazing it was, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. We can turn to others, Larry, Rob, different people. No, this view is amazing, right?
That's
But we
right.
know we all got there together. And so to me, that's how we overcome the black tax because we know it's going to be there, but we don't have to necessarily pay it. And how we overcome the black tariff, that extra 25% that we put on each other, right, is make sure there's a rope around each other's waist as we're climbing to the top. If you fail, right, if you fall on your back, because right, if you can look up, I'm going to help you get up. And two, like you said, in private, that
Mhm.
sort of thing. When I was younger, child of the '60s,
Mhm.
if I did something in public, oh, there was never discipline in public. It was always at home,
Right. Don't cut
which
up in
made it
front of
even
company.
worse,
Yeah.
right? So it
Right.
was that long
Wait till you
ride
get
home
home. You like,
that's right,
and it seemed
right?
like you got home
Uh-huh.
so
I know.
fast.
Tell me about it.
We here already?
Right, wait, but
You know?
what? Hey, this, the supersonic jet hadn't been invented yet. My mom could
Right.
have invented it. She definitely knew how to get home. We're like, with the speed of light, then with the speed of mom, right, which is
Yeah.
faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think those are the ways to do it, and it's very and it's all these things are very very simple and easy to do. Just allow each other, the grace to be successful,
Yeah. And it
right?
feels good to be a part of that success. I've messed up. Oh my gosh. In my business, early on, I've made some big mistakes.
No, you didn't.
And
No, I
what?
disagree with you,
You
LaDonna.
disagree? Why
I
do you
disagree.
disagree?
You never lose. You always learn,
Learn.
right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah, I
best
definitely
example, right? You
learned.
learn. Hey, look, the
Yes.
only way Kansas City lost the Super Bowl this year against the Eagles was because they were in the Super Bowl.
They suck. Oh, I'm sorry. That's football.
Well, I'm a Ravens fan, so I'm not saying I was unhappy about the outcome. But the previous year, Kansas City, of course, could have a different conversation. But the
Yeah.
only way you lose is you got to be in the game.
Right.
So to me, and I think a lot of times for our black businesses, we feel failure is fatal. The only thing that's fatal is death.
That's true.
You can fix everything else.
Mhm.
If you got
That's
that
true.
drive and I got that desire, you share with me your story, your journey, And I'm telling you, if you're I would say poster child, but I'm showing my age. So I will say you're the Wikipedia for what drive and desire is. So
The
there we go. I try to be a
Wikipedia.
little bit trendy. I
Hey, and
try to show
even
my age
that's a
too
little bit more reliable these days. Well,
much.
you're watching the LaDonna Rae Show. I have Mr. Brian Brown on with us. He is with a big law business development. And basically, it's been quite the conversation. So, we have talked about permission levels, we've talked about the black tax, the black tariffs, and building relationships and how to help a business that's struggling without using your own money. I mean, we weren't even saying without using your own money, but you vote with your dollars. And the moment you give a bad review, those reviews are heavy. Now, what I
Yes.
will say is that I definitely try my best to do the follow up and follow through thing because I think we fail at that quite a bit because we get so distracted. You brought that to our attention when you were at the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce business conference last year, and you said, and what was it called? Keep up, follow up, don't give up. What was I just know the three terms or four.
So it's show up, right? Show up,
Mhm.
follow up, keep it up, and don't give up.
That's it. That's it
Don't
right there.
and if you can only remember one of the four, it's just don't give up. The history of the success of our people in this country is predicated on never
Mhm.
giving up.
The easiest thing to do is nothing. But we
Amen.
also talked about how important it is to follow up with people that you meet. So I wanna close this out because we've been on for quite a bit, but this is important, people. When you go out and get your business cards printed, okay? Because so when I print business cards for my clients and they have them in their hand, they have their QR code on there just in case you need to scan it and not give out your last one. Okay, that's a tip for you. But once you have that QR code and that way to contact you, make sure you get your prospects information, but not just get it and say, okay, now that I have it, I've done something. You haven't done enough. In fact, you've done nothing
Nothing.
because you need to contact them on the next business day, if not that following Monday. Email them and let them know it was great meeting them. Even if you text them and say, wow, here's the picture we took together. Because one thing that people do, they're inundated with opportunities other than yours.
That's right.
And if you don't stick with following through and following up, you will lose them. I've left a lot of money on the table in my previous years. That's called MOT in my business. Money on the table. Well, TT. Money on the table. And money on the table is is a closed door action. It's like, I really want my business to be unsuccessful. So
That's right.
let me not call these businesses or these people that met me face to face, because let me tell you something. Follow up is key. And the reason why follow up is key is because that person met you face to face. They're more willing to do business with you
It's
than
true.
someone they called on Google. You've already done the work. They've met you in person. They've seen your body language. They love your smile, your energy. Now, all you have to do is seal the deal, follow through. Don't waste it. I just wanted to say that.
Well, that's great, LaDonna. And I would also say, too, one of the things I've done for years, and again, one of the things I've done for years is I send out holiday cards, not Christmas. I do every holiday but Christmas. I do New Year's. I do Groundhog's Day. So you can't get Groundhog's Day cards. So I may create a Groundhog's Day video and send it to someone that looks like LaDonna Raeh. I have St. Patrick's Day cards, and it's a quick story. I ended up doing a lot of business with the Chinese because I sent the former ambassador a St. Patrick's Day card and put O in front of his last name.
Ah, cute.
And he ended up calling me and says, "Hey, Mr. Brown, I got your St. Patrick's Day card. Thank you very much." I said, "Hey, Bukachi from me." And he said, "I'm not Irish." To which I said, "Are you sure?" And that started a friendship and a relationship that's been a good business relationship for myself. Has been able to open up doors for other African Americans as well.
I have to
Um,
ask what the man's last name was
was
that you
that
put the O
Sui?
in front.
Cui. So it's
Oh,
Sui. It was
sweet.
pronounced Sui.
And you
So it
put
was
oh
O
sweet.
Sui. Right.
I'm done. I can't even. I
and,
can't
and
with you.
and the current ambassador, whose last name is Feng, Feng, his his St. Patrick's Day cards going out today after I pick up my business cards to put inside. And then I promised him I'm going to call him on the 23rd of March, and I'll call him the
Mm-hmm.
23rd of March at 10 a.m. as was put in my card. Now, if he
Mm-hmm.
answers, great. If he doesn't, I still
Mm-hmm.
kept my word,
Yeah,
right? And
it's
we're
important.
already beginning to start that precedent. Now, I've not met him in person yet. He's
Yeah,
new to his post, but it's those little things, the multiple touches.
yeah.
Again, the innovation, the differentiation. This is what kills the black tax by us being the innovators and the differentiators that we always are.
It's because of you that I have a happy birthday video that I made for everyone on their birthday.
Oh, okay. What?
So, and I'm singing happy birthday totally different than anything you've ever heard. And
Okay.
I send it out on their birthday
All
and it
right.
doesn't say a name. I'm just going to be, they know that it's generic, but at least it's a start. Okay. I was
It,
feeling good that day.
well, hey, most people don't do that. And, also don't forget if you have Muslim clients or friends, it's the month of Ramadan,
It is.
right? That's the thing. People, folks, it means a lot to someone when you acknowledge something that's important to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it
I love
doesn't
it.
take much.
I love
It's,
it.
it's, it's a small thing, but it really means a lot. You acknowledge my beliefs. So, every month you got an opportunity to touch an existing client or potential client in a special way. And everybody gets the St. Patrick's Day card. It says what. So several of my ambassador friends who are from Gulf Coast countries are getting Al Khalifa, yeah, everybody gets a card. They all think it's funny.
Oh, Ray,
So, hey,
I can see it.
killing the black tax, right?
Well, Brian, in 60 seconds, tell everybody what Big Law Business Development can do for their business out there.
Well, what big law business development, but big law business development can do for you is put time back in your business day, right? While you're working on your business, to quote a very famous woman, LaDonna Raeh, we're helping you grow your business. So we're going to put time back in your day. We're salespeople. That's plain and simple. That's what we do. We do it every day, and we're happy to do it for anyone who needs to get it done.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I am going to close us out, sir, so you can get back to your, because I know you had a hard stop at 1 o'clock, but I'm getting you out of here early.
I'm
So
not
this
worried
is,
about it.
this is beautiful. So someone posted, oh, the looking eyes. I love it. And we've got Lorenzo. Actually, you talked him up. He
Oh,
said,
I should.
how is it? Look, I can't even see this because
How is it
it's,
that you are the best? How is the best at what you do, and can be convincing otherwise?
mm,
We're the creators of greatness. We are taxed for being the best at being human beings.
whoa.
So I don't know, Donna, if you want to. It's your show. So how do you think about that statement?
I just dropped the mic.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, that's true.
For real.
Enough said.
Yes. Well, I thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on the LaDonna Rae Show. You're welcome to come back anytime.
I'm looking forward to it, LaDonna. God bless you and God bless your family. I mean, like I said, we got the important stuff off in the beginning and at the end, and I'll work on making sure we don't have to do this in this little rectangle with my head chopped off, that sort of
I'm
thing.
going to get you.
Yeah, I know you will. I know you will. Hey, and hey, look forward to you coming on, being on the C-suite influencers, LaDonna Rae. We're gonna make that happen. You need to come be
Yes.
on my show.
All right. I can't wait. I'm looking
Yes, ma'am.
forward to it. Thanks,
Thanks again.
Brian.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to you soon.
All
Bye,
right. Bye bye
everybody.
for now.
Bye bye.
Well, we just had an amazing show with Mr. Brian Brown. And I know you took notes. You had to take notes because it was important to kind of figure out where you fit in if you're African American in America. Now, watch this. I always tell my children, and this is something that we started saying for the past few years, don't try to be corporate America. Be corporate in America because you have control of you. Period. Don't wait for someone to give you the approval, the go ahead, the nod, the validation. Validate yourself. And I know people say, well, love yourself. And you're sitting there lonely. No, it's not the same thing. What you need to do is work inward, outward. And that includes in your business and with your family and friends. So watch this. I just opened up a brand new bank account at One United Bank. Oh, where's my applause? I got to get my sound effects ready. It's right there. It is. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just opened up this bank account and I feel like I really took the reins on this movement of being intentional when it comes to supporting Black businesses. The day that we did the boycott, I had cash in my hand, and the Black businesses that I supported were DA's Corned Beef in Calumet City. What is it? What is it? Pizza Flats. Oh shoot. Southtown Pizza Flats in Calumet City, because I was on that side of town. And I wanted to support these Black businesses intentionally with cash. I did not even give the percentage rates that credit card companies get or debit card, because I gave them cashola. And they were thankful. They were very thankful. And try to do that. If you have cash laying around, because I know we've gotten to a digital age, give Black businesses cash so they can work with that instead of being taxed on being taxed on their on those credit card fees, right? But if you have to use the credit card fees, if I go to a vendor booth and they say it's $5, I give them $6. They don't have to ask it's $1, but those dollars add up. So I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that. All right. So I am going to get out of here because you have been such a great audience. I want to thank you for your comments. Look for me on this Thursday on WVON. I'll be on from 3 to 6 with Atiba Buchanan. Yes, we're filling in for the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. And then I got to tear out of there and host the women's empowerment event that's happening, given by Strategic Exceptions and Constellation. There's a whole lot going on. And then this Saturday, tune into WVON via iHeartRadio, Chicago, right? And listen to the Wake Up Show Chicago. I will be co-hosting with Larry Ivory. We have some amazing guests coming on board, especially, since we're close to Lobby Day. So if you don't know what Lobby Day is, check my social media out and I will inform you. And I will be posting my experience at a restaurant in the South Suburbs. After I attended my friend's funeral, I promised that I would talk about this restaurant, and it wasn't in a good way. Nope, that's not me running the Yelp. That's me talking to the owner and trying to make amends, and she still gave me shade. I didn't want to cuss. You know what she gave me. So I will be talking about that proudly because, that's what I said I was going to do. All right, we're going to get out of here. I'll see you next time on the LaDonna Raeh Show. Make sure you hit subscribe, and the name of the restaurant will be in the comments. Bye-bye for now. I'm going to put it in the comments right now. Boom. Yep, you got it.
The one and only sexy mama, LaDonna Raeh.